And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the African American Athlete. I'm Ricky Hampton with my great friend and frat brother, Michael Roberson, coming to you a Thursday pregame edition of the
Friday.
African American Athlete. It's Friday. Man,
I
brother.
know. They all run together.
Yeah, man, I've been on the road, as you well know, Mike, and my mind is in 100 different places. But my eyes are going to be on Game 4 of the NBA Finals in about an hour or so. And this was a great time to come on the air, talk a little bit, not only about the finals, but some of the other happenings in the world of sports as we go into the weekend. The first and foremost, good brother, I want to check in and see how you doing.
I'm doing fine. Well, tomorrow out here in the Bay, I'll be checking out my first Valkyries game. The Valkyries, the Bay Area Valkyries inaugural season. They'll be playing Seattle, so I'll get a chance to see NECA Wumake, who was one of my favorite players to cover at Stanford. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. Sunday is still up in the air, and just want to acknowledge this. Sunday is the Gold Cup, and this is soccer, big time event. Team USA will be playing Trinidad and Tobago, and the thing about it is that Team USA is in a very precarious situation. I mean, do they go all out and look good in this Gold Cup, knowing that next year is the World Cup, and the World Cup is going to be the biggest it's ever been. It's going to be more teams than ever before. It's going to be spread across 3 countries here in North America. Our friends to the north, Canada, here in the United States, and our friends to the south, Mexico. Now, I don't get all into the politics of it, but hopefully nothing interrupts this by next year. But, there are some countries that are not really happy what's going on here. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But the Gold Cup, it's a lot of ambiguous stuff going on about if I'm going to cover it or not. And apparently we haven't been providing enough links to show that we're covering it, even though I'm at all the games. But yeah, something we got to deal with. And I definitely want to get this rectified before next year. So I definitely want the African-American athlete to be immersed in the World Cup next year. And it's going to be 6 games out here in Levi, so definitely going to try to make sure we work on that, and hopefully our technical difficulties with the website will be rectified. And so that's the thing about it. So yeah, big event coming on this weekend. Before I was talking to you about Messi Mania, so now this is the big thing going on now soccer-wise in the Bay Area. U.S. Gold Cup, which is like the precursor to the World Cup, and Team USA will be in action on Sunday afternoon out here in the Bay.
But now you are the soccer expert on the show. You said the USA is in a precarious situation.
Well,
okay, if the World Cup is a year away, I mean, you got a year to get ready. What?
But the thing about it is that, do you put a lot of effort into winning this? And will it kind of hinder your development for next year? Because, Team USA doesn't have to worry about qualifying, or Mexico or Canada, because you're the host. It's the first time you've had multiple hosts like this. So they're okay. But remember, the USA has been a non-factor throughout history of the World Cup. So, that's the thing about it, is that, do you want to get all your efforts to win this Gold Cup? Which you should, since you're, hosting a lot of these games here. Or do you want to really be the benevolent host next year and make sure that all your efforts are there? And when the world stage is absolutely glued here, will you be a great host and also be a host that could potentially get into the playoff round or get into the Final Four? And best of you all, win the World Cup. I mean, that would be the most magnificent thing ever in U.S. soccer history if they win the World Cup. Now, the last time I was here was 94. and I believe you were either in Michigan or in Nashville. I was in Wisconsin, had my own show, but I just did not make it down to Chicago for any of the matches. And ironically, this World Cup, no Chicago involvement. And I think Chicago or DC. I don't know why, but for some reason, Chicago shut out. Your hometown actually is going to have some action. Nashville.
Right.
You know, we know how Nashville has transformed since we were there. But yeah, 94, I was covering the Greater Milwaukee Open, big golf tournament. The Miller 200 was a big auto race right after the Indy 500. So I had a lot of things going on, but I just somehow did not make it down to Chicago to cover any World Cup. So that's why I'm diligent to try to cover when it's here now. It may never be in my lifetime.
Why have we not been better in soccer?
You know what?
Although our women have had success.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because when I covered Team USA, the women, not the coach they have now, but and not the coach they previously had, but the coach they had previous to that, I asked her, I said, you know, I don't want you to kind of like shun the men, but why is it that you guys are utilizing this melting pot of talent we have in the United States and putting it out there and winning? And as the men have not been able to do that. And then she just said that, you know, a lot of the men gravitate towards the other sports. And since women, I guess, had limited activities, soccer is a very, very inviting or enticing sport. So that's why they kind of go towards that instead of the men. And for the men, like I said, you go to more of the lucrative sports like basketball, you know, the better athletes, basketball, football, and even in some cases baseball. So that's the reason why she said. And then I think Alexi Lawless said that the reason why, and he was a former goalie for Team USA. He said the reason why he sees it is that it's because we are a melting pot. You also have a whole bunch of different ideas of what soccer means to you. So then that it's hard to meld that into unity as one country. Whereas in other countries, Brazil, it's soccer number one, and everybody wants to do it. Whereas you don't really have any alternatives. Like, yeah, you've had some good basketball players come out of Brazil, but for the most part, you grow up in Brazil, in the favelas or wherever, you want to be a soccer player.
Right.
That's what happened.
And you can make some money. Didn't Messi's deal like $40 million a year or something?
Well, not only that, you know, he gets money internationally, and then of course he plays for his team, and then he plays for Inter Miami in the MLS, which like I said, I just covered that game a few weeks ago. And so he's getting multiple streams of money, and he's the number one figure in the world right now. I mean, we see a lot of our popular players that are like, oh, yeah, they got about 5 million followers and all this stuff. These guys got like hundreds of millions of followers, and they're making all these super amounts of money playing for some of these world teams in Europe or other places around the world. So, yeah, so still a whole different level, and still soccer players are more popular in the whole world because that's a sport that's, you know, the world's leader. Football, as it's called.
So you think Messi's more popular worldwide than LeBron James?
Oh, he is. He is, but not in the United States.
James is.
Yeah, Messi. But you know what? So like I said, guys like us, you know, and you're a little older than I am, but I'm always say Pele is the greatest player ever. And three World Cups, should have been 4. Led the team to the World Cup as a teenager. You know, just phenomenal. But you got the younger generation says Messi, Ronaldo, and all those guys. And, you know, right now, although there are a couple other players, like Mbappe is emerging into one of the top 2 or 3 players too. I mean, he's for France. So you get a lot of that too, where you get guys with African backgrounds playing for these European teams. Some people like it, some think like, man, that's not really right. You know, we need to uplift these African countries. So that's the thing about that is that you'll see a lot of cross cultural scenarios. And then, like I said, the last World Cup, they were this close to winning France with Mbappe, which would have been like a big deal, and he actually had a hat trick. But Argentina's goalie made one of the greatest saves ever, and then they ended up going to a shootout, and then Messi's Argentina won, and that puts a big chip on his mantle because he and Ronaldo, even though they're thought of as the two best players in the world, some think ever, they didn't have any kind of World Cups. So with Messi getting that uplifted him probably to number one overall right now, and definitely history. But you got Maradona, you got a lot of great players over the years.
And, all right, and to our viewers out there, bear with me because I'm talking to a guy who knows soccer as well as anyone, and I don't know a lot about it because Mike, I can't tell. Again, I know LeBron. I can look at LeBron James, tell he's a great player.
Right.
This was 35 points, 12 assists, 14 rebounds. I know. I can't tell why is Messi great. Why was Rolando great when the score is 2-1?
Yeah. See that's where you get into all the nuances of how soccer's played. I've had this debate with some people too that are more in tune than I am. This is kind of more of a new phenomenon for me. I was always cognizant of it. Like I said, growing up, you grow up in the Chicago area. They had the Chicago. Right now, Chicago Fire is getting a brand new stadium downtown Chicago, whereas the White Sox don't even know where they're going to end up. And then the Bears, are kind of saying, "How we gonna move out of Soldier Field? Are we gonna make a move?" So it's a lot of stuff going on. But for some reason, the Chicago franchise will be having a brand new downtown stadium. And then there was the Chicago Fire too, in Chicago Sting back in the day. It was indoor soccer. Milwaukee had the indoor soccer, Milwaukee Wave. So I've had it around me. And then, like I said, when the World Cup happened, that brought it up to another level. And I remember the excitement of it. And quite frankly, the winningest team in World Cup history is Brazil, and they actually won that last one that was in America back in '94. So they are like under fire now because they're known as the quintessential soccer team in the world when it comes to World Cups. But they had an absolute horrible moment when the World Cup was there back in 2016. They got embarrassed. They got beat badly. And it was an embarrassment. Now, they did redeem themselves in the Olympics.
So what's getting beat badly in soccer?
Well, I think Germany might have beat them 10-1 or something. It was so
That's
crazy.
getting beat bad in soccer.
Yeah. And then lost like
even I know that.
Right. But that's the thing about it. In the World Cup, you got a couple, possible elimination moments where you can still survive with a loss in the early rounds. But they ended up with like 3 or 4 losses. They were like not a factor at all when it was in Brazil. And then the Olympic, and I said the wrong year. So it was, I think it was 14 maybe. And then 16, the Olympics was there. And they won the Olympics. But we all know when it comes to soccer, the Olympics gold medal means nothing compared to a World Cup title. So that's the thing about it, is that Brazil has that reputation as being the elite country when it comes to soccer or football. And lately they haven't done anything, and they still have the lead with 5. But, you got places like France and Argentina going for back-to-back that are trying to eclipse them as probably the greatest country in soccer history. And, of course, out of those 5, Pele was responsible for 3 of them.
All right, man. We're going to move on. I just got my education, folks.
Yeah, and it'd be even more intense next year. So we definitely, like I said, once we get the
so as big as the NFL is, it pales into comparison.
This is bigger because guess what? You'll find out. This will be a great test for you. You'll find out the difference because 2 big events are going to be going on. The Super Bowl is here in February. Come June, World Cup is going to be here in several other cities around North America. Right. you're gonna see how big of a difference the Super Bowl is. Maybe 100 million people. You're gonna have billions watching the World Cup.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy, man.
it's the biggest
That's
event
crazy.
in the whole world.
And it's never really caught on here. Yeah, we got it's millions of people who watch soccer and play soccer here, but it's never quite
Right.
taken
That's why it's
hold.
important. See, and Alexi talked about this too, how that changed his life, being involved in the World Cup. And now he's on TV talking about soccer, going around giving speeches and all that stuff, or and all that good stuff. So he thanked that, and he said, and then there's some kid that probably grew up watching that World Cup, and they became enamored with it, and now all of a sudden they're soccer fans because when the World Cup was here. And then in '99, the women, when Brandy Chastain pulled up her shirt and all that, remember that big moment? That metamorphosized it for women. Now women are all over the world, playing that. They have a women's league now. We have Bay FC out here in women's league, in the women's league. So there's a lot of young ladies that were girls watching them, and they were like, "That's what I want to do." So that kind of exposure, when all eyes are on your country, and in this case, your continent, it's going to be a big deal for the youngsters that are watching that now. So we'll see the impact next year.
Well, let's get to what's a big deal in America, although it's not that big a deal because the Pacers Oklahoma City finals has not done well rating-wise, Mike.
But remember, I said that. Because people say, "Hey, Naptown and OKC, that's not really something we want to see."
Right.
But
I think they've been a good games. Your thoughts on the finals as we get ready for Game 4 tonight?
Well, I mean, you remember I said this. I said OKC might go through that scenario of having the best record, overall for this point, because remember Cleveland and OKC were going back and forth all year at the best record in the whole league. So when those two teams got knocked off in the East, and then OKC was the lone survivor in the West, I started to wonder that now is OKC there mentally, because they had one of the top records last year in the West and failed to get to the championship then, and it was really bad that your star player made a crucial mistake to kind of expedite their exit when he fouled a three-point shooter in the corner for Dallas, and they ended up losing that and the series, and it was just a disappointment all year. And it's like, how will they respond to that? Now they're back here again, but then you have to wonder, are they mentally over that, especially now that you had Halliburton and all the other players, take their home court advantage away. So tonight is probably the most important game you could say in franchise history, because remember, they had big moments with KD and all those guys. Remember, they were in the championship in 2012, and they should have been in the championship in 2016, but they blew a 3-1 lead. So that's the thing about it, is that will they have the wherewithal to get over the hump that, okay, we're down now, and do we really have the intestinal fortitude and the mental aptitude to actually take back hold of this finals? Because Indiana's playing with house money. They also have that freelance attitude, like, hey, nobody expects us to win. They're like a 6-point dog in this game, and they're at home with the 2-1 lead. So they're still going to be going through that we're the underdog thing, and sometimes you can use that as a chip on your shoulder.
Oh, Rick Carlisle got that on the bulletin board.
Exactly. So and that's another thing too, is that if Carlisle pulls this off, that's 2 big underdog finals victories. Remember 2011, and everybody's giving Spoelstra all this credit being this incredible coach. But if Carlisle wins again, he has just as many championships as Spoelstra. You're going to put him up there as one of the elite coaches. For some reason, they think Spoelstra is an elite coach. And I'm like, yeah, he's all right. I mean, I think he and Pat and all those guys blew that first one against Dallas because they were too busy trying to manipulate the situation instead of just letting LeBron come down there and do his thing like he did all year and in the playoffs. In the finals, they decided, no, we still want to show that this is Wade County. And that totally messed up that final. Nobody wants to admit it because they love slamming LeBron. But if you really look at it, that's what happened. And that's why they made sure to say, well, you know what? We absolutely got to hand over the team to LeBron. You should have been doing that the first year. But they were too busy trying to stroke Wade's ego and then totally messed up that final.
Well, how do you see the Knights game going? And can OKC still win the series?
Well, that's the thing about it, that even if they do lose tonight, I mean, there is precedence to come back from a 3-1 deficit. I mean, like I just told you, the Warriors did it, but that was in the Western Conference Finals. But in the finals, it's only one scenario where it's happened. So if they want to be the 2025 Cavaliers, we'll see. But being that they're a young team, I don't know if they can recover from that. But then again, Indiana has to sit there and say, we can't play around and give away home games. We fought hard to take away home court advantage. And what do we look like giving it right back to them? Because we felt like, oh, well, you know, we don't want to be too aggressive in this moment. No, you need to step on their necks. Because if you let them tie it up 2-2, now they get home court advantage back and it becomes a 3-game series. And then who's to say what's going to happen there? Because you played around.
And did you happen to see the other night, and I give the guy credit, T.J. McConnell, Pacers won Game 3, I think it was 116 to 107. Yeah. And T.J. McConnell had a big night for them. And
it's awesome. And momentum changer.
He really, when he came in, they were down 6-7 points.
10 points
that game. But did
10
you hear
5 steals, 5 assists? That's awesome.
And no doubt, and much props to him. But did you hear Doris Burke say, this guy's the smartest guy on the floor? I mean, come on, man.
It happens all the time. I mean, you know,
Mike, he had a hell of a game.
I know, but those are those tropes that they do, I guess, unconsciously or subconsciously. They'll say stuff like that because that's the trope you have to go with. Like, well, no, he doesn't have the athleticism, so he must be more intelligent than everybody out there. I mean, I'll give you another example. They have, you know, in hockey, you know, of course, Stanley Cup is going on too. And of course, I'm, you know, in the midst of writing something about it. And we'll see if that comes to fruition. But the 2 black players on Edmonton, and then you have Popeye Jones' son on Florida. So whenever they get a penalty or something like that, I always see these announcers say, oh, that was such a dumb penalty. That was such a dumb penalty. I mean, even Nurse yesterday. Nurse was the reason why they probably won. He got a goal and an assist. Very good game, right? But they made a comment about how he leg whipped another player, tripped him, right? So he gets a 2-minute penalty. And basically said, well, I don't know why you had that look on your face. It's obviously you did it. I'm like, really? And then Evander, I guess, got a penalty. So they always want to pick on Evander that he's just some goofball or he's always aloof or something like that. But then one of the white players on the team got a penalty. Not a word said.
Yeah.
Nothing. I said, I'm just waiting to hear you say how dumb of a play that was. Never said. Basically said, well, you know, that was a questionable moment, or he was just trying hard for his team. But when these black players do it, they're idiots and they're messing it up for their team. They're being selfish. So, yeah, it goes on. I mean, and of course, me being a media person, I know this, but I'm always also cognizant of these perceptions. And I've been having to defend Evander for
people will ask, well, why you gotta call this the African American athlete live stream, right? We don't have to justify
Right.
the title and to explain. But really, if you want to know, it's because the way our communities are shaped and formed over time, we look at stuff differently. I was telling you, we were talking before we came on the air, Mike. I'm watching the U.S. Open, and it right now the PGA Tour with Tiger's gone. The one guy I know for sure is on tour. That's Cameron Champ, one black guy. It could be another one, Joseph Bramlett. I don't know if he has a card. So I'm watching USGA tournament, the U.S. Open, with golfers from everywhere. And this one guy from America, J.J. Spawn, and I looked twice at him. I'm like, I expected him to be white. But then I said, he doesn't look white. He's something, but he ain't white. I actually went and looked up his ethnicity, and I was saying to myself, what prompted me to take that next step to see what this guy was? His nationality. And it's because our representation is so poor in that sport. There's nothing racist about it whatsoever.
Right.
But some people, as you well know, perceive that.
Right. And we could shift to another sport and a name similar to the sport we just talked about, golf. Coco Gauff just won her second major or second Grand Slam, French Open, and instead of being congratulated, she has to listen to this poor sport of a loser say that, yeah, she didn't beat me, I beat myself. Basically saying that.
Yeah.
Which you don't ever give your opponent any credit then. And that's very dismissive, condescending. Any other ism you could throw out there. It's just insulting to do that.
Yeah.
I'm glad she won.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. That's just so well said, though. I just wanted to.
Right, exactly, and that's the thing. And here's the thing that's and then we could get into another segment of how you would get people saying, "Well, hey, look at how great things are going for Asians." Naomi Osaka, is back in action now, and I'm like, okay, yeah, she's born in Japan, and yes, technically she is Japanese, but then we get into how are you kind of dictating of what she is really considered, because her father's a Haitian black man, and then her mother Japanese, but you can't really claim someone as a race if it's you doing it by their place of dissension. So she was born in Japan. She's a Japanese citizen, but that's not her race. So that's when we get into about it's very ambiguous about, well, hey, you're saying that somebody from China, that's a race, or is that the country they come from, and then their nationality? So that's what I'm saying about sometimes we get it all mixed up about, well, we can't really call Naomi black because she's Asian. Okay, but then Tiger, of course, had a part Asian in him too, but he's born in America, so now you can call it something different. Think about it. They're both mixed race. And in what race are we actually calling someone from China? That's the mistake people make when calling somebody an Asian race. That's not a race.
But I think that goes back to what I was saying.
Right.
Our representation is so low in some of those sports that it makes you stop and look at that and address it. Hey, we got our great friend. I am so glad this man is with us tonight. One of the great players in the game of basketball at every level, a future Hall of Famer, member of the ABA's all-time great team, point guard supreme, our great friend Matt Calvin, who's on cloud nine because his Pacers, he called it, are taking it to OKC. And Matt, what made and the series is not over, and we know that. But a lot of people didn't have Indiana winning one game, let alone two.
Hello, fellas. Good to see you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Michael and Ricky, I apologize for being late, but
No
I,
problem.
I had to do some daughter things today, and hey, I'd have gotten fired
Happy
as a
Father's
father.
Day, brother.
Thank you. Same to you guys. I'd have gotten fired, man, if I didn't hang out with my daughter today. So
Absolutely.
first, I had to get a haircut, get my wig cut, and free grays was coming on the side. So I want to stay young, look young. So thank God for color. But no, great to see you guys be on the show, and happy Father's Day to all your listeners that are out there. And what a wonderful day. I know Mother's Day is special, and Father's Day as well. My daughter told me as she was dropping me off, she said, "Dad, I picked up a card, but the cards are pretty skimmich. That's not many." She said, "Fathers get a short change." I said, "We always do." not many cards, not many Father's Day cards are on the shelves at CVS or any other places, but we spend 5 hours together, and it's very precious, man. But
absolutely.
I was rushing to be back on the show because we had scheduled for 5:30, and I knew I would be back in time, but you came on a little early, so I wanted to at least come on for a short time. And talking about the series, man, what a wonderful series. And not just the two teams mirror each other. They're just good for basketball. One, a small market, Oklahoma, as well as Indiana. And this is what David Stern had designed whatever amount a decade ago when they brought in the salary cap and made everybody on one equal playing field, where the Knicks and the Lakers and all these other teams couldn't really buy up the great players and dominate. So this is what you have to build your franchise from the bottom up, develop young players, and then pick up a free agent superstar here and there. And this is what basically Oklahoma has done, more so Oklahoma. I think Indiana picked up Pascal Siakam. That's pretty much the only one they picked up as a great free agent. And on the other hand, OKC, they haven't really picked up anybody. I mean, a journeyman type players like Caruso and the big kid, and that's pretty much it. They had foresight 5, 6, 7 years ago to trade Paul George for some draft picks and pick up young Shea Alexander, who's a top player in the league. So they've done it the right way, and I think that's you're going to continue to see that trend because of the salary cap.
Well, you know what though, Mac, I think the only hiccup in that whole scenario that you mentioned about how things have changed, when the Warriors were allowed to have that loophole, when it was like one moment where the salary cap fit perfectly, where they could get a KD, somebody of that ilk, when you already got a team that was in the championship the year before. So that's the only one I would say that they kind of had made a loophole for their scenario. But yeah, you're right. Everybody else had to adjust to what David Stern put together.
Yeah, but that piece was there. That they were young. That core was there. KD was getting ready to become an unrestricted free agent, and they made it some trade. Now, the last really great free agent player that really took advantage of that is who? LeBron James. He went from a championship in Cleveland to Miami, won a couple championships, and then said, "I don't like it here anymore. You guys are getting old. I'm going to the Lakers where I want to retire." And so he, and the Lakers didn't have to, Miami didn't have to give up that much. He was going to be an unrestricted free agent there, which he is now again. But not many suitors out there when you're 40+ years old. So anyway, and then those players, fellas, I get tired of the NBA and the players sometimes. I get tired of the Anthony Edwards. I get tired of the Kyrie Irvings. And Kyrie's matured. I'm gonna give him some props on that. But I get tired of John Morant, and I get tired of those guys who are prima donnas and just really bad characters because the brand of the NBA. Those guys have really forgotten what the league's all about, where the league started, where old timers like myself really built their franchise. And so let's go to the Pacers. You asked me why I liked them from the beginning, because it's an ABA team. Pacers been to the finals twice. Only two teams that have won championship was the Denver Nuggets, San Antonio Spurs. They've won 6 together between those two teams. But I love the coaches. I love Rick Carlisle. He's an old ABA guy. Didn't play or coach, but he came from that tree with Popovich and Larry Brown and some of those guys. And then the coach in OKC. There's no egos. They're all on one page. They play together. This series is not over again, as you mentioned, but OKC have to win 3 out of the next 4 ball games. That's pretty tough. That's a tough, even though tonight's game is going to be tough. I think this is the series game right tonight. Yeah. Exactly. I think game 4 is the series game.
Right.
Because
can you repeat that, Mac? You cut off a little bit. Repeat.
Yeah.
You think this is?
I think tonight, game 4 is the pivotal game. Whatever the percentage or the numbers are, with the team being up 3 games to 1 and never or anyone's ever come back.
One time.
Once, Mike. You got
it. That's LeBron and the Great Cavs at 16.
Yeah. And then somebody was hurt. Then somebody got hurt. That's why they were able to come back.
No, there was Draymond got suspended.
There you go.
There you go. He should have been suspended in the Western Conference Finals, and then that way OKC might not have choked, and KD may have never come there.
Well, that's hindsight, but I knew you would know those stats. So it was, but no one's ever come. Only one team has ever come back being down 3-1. Indiana has a chance now. Indiana is the better team.
Right.
All right. That game could have been over the first quarter, fellas. OKC was up 9, 10, 12 points, something like that. I think the highest was 9 points. They were not playing well. The guy that kept them in the game, who's been the key all year and in the series, is Pascal. He had 9 of their 22 or 20 points they had in that first quarter. And then they got the game going. Then Halliburton, Indiana wants to run, push the ball up the court, get easy basket, play helter-skelter type basketball, penetrate, pass, and then they get back in the defense and get set. So OKC blew it, in my opinion. I thought they blew that game early in the first quarter. They came back, but then Indiana started rolling. Now, key player in that series right now.
Mike and
I was going to say the key.
Go ahead.
The key person that kept him in that series is little TJ McConnell and Mathurin. Those two kept him in the series. Mathurin had 27 points, fellas. I mean, he is a diamond in the rough in terms of he can be a superstar for some other team. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No. Ricky is about to say.
No, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Well, for me, this is what I was just saying to Ricky before you got on, because we were talking a little soccer and other stuff. But like I said, all this momentum and everything that Indiana has, if they lose this game at home, it's back to OKC having the home court advantage.
That's correct.
So basically, all this fervor and everything that's going on, you're back to square zero right there. If you lose this game, now it's 0-0, 3-game series, and they got 2 games in Oklahoma. So that's the thing about it, is that you can't get too excited if you don't take care of business tonight and lose at home.
Right. Mike, if you've watched the playoffs throughout the whole playoffs, the road team have won a large percentage of those games. Yes. OKC is capable of winning.
Exactly.
They're capable, but when you look at the Pacers, they've only had collectively as a team played very well together one game,
right.
The first game. I mean, that the defensive player, it was a Nesbitt. He hasn't played very well.
Right.
Okay. Turner hasn't played well. I told you guys when I was going into game 1 or game 2, I say the guy who's got to play well is the key to the series is Miles Turner.
Yep.
He didn't score a lot of points. 5 block shots and made a key 3 or key 2. He is the key because really, when you look at it, way I see it out of my lens, OKC is playing 4 against 5 because their center is not a threat.
Right.
He does a lot of pick and roll, good passer, but he's no threat. And that's why the Pacers were able to win the Knicks series, because Mitch Robinson was not a threat. He did a lot of little things, but the game is, you got to score, brother.
Well, here's the other stat that a lot of people don't know. When they go by point differential and all that, Oklahoma City has dominated quarter number 1, quarter number 2, quarter number 3, but they have been bludgeoned in quarter number 4. And that's why we are where we are, because those games have been Indiana taking care of business in the last quarter, and only when they lost kind of big in the game in Oklahoma City. Yeah, other than that, they've been saying, okay, we'll take these punches, we'll rope a dope. Fourth quarter comes, or 15th round for you youngsters out there. They used to fight 15 rounds. So 15 rounds, and even more during Jack Johnson's days. But in the 15th round or the fourth quarter, that's when Indiana says, this is our quarter, and that's the most important quarter, especially if you kept the game kind of close.
Ricky, you have something to say, and then I'm gonna chime in.
Now, Mac, I just want, and on top of that, is that a product of the pressure they're putting on them from the first quarter? They're picking up full court the whole game.
That was what I was going to come to. I want to put it in a basketball analysis perspective, and what I mean by that, OKC was fatigued. Completely fatigued in the fourth quarter. That's where they've won. That's where they won that last game. They were absolutely fatigued. And you're not making those shots. I tell you, the one shot that, with the young Kent Williams coming up the court, and he put up and shot the 3. That was really the last transition basket. Everything else is in the half court perspective. And then, and their game plan, you watch them tonight. They let Shea, Shea's not having the ability to get one-on-one quite often. When that shot clock gets down to 5-6 seconds, they're coming to a double team, man. When they know when he makes that move, he'll take it, and then he's pushing off all the time. I don't know why in the heck they're not calling it, but he's pushing off. But then he likes that spin. When he makes that spin, they're coming to double team him, and he doesn't have that ability yet to see that double team coming. Now, what they have to do is put him at the top of the key or elbow and let him go one-on-one. Now come double teaming. He can see both sides of the wing real quickly.
I was going to ask you, Mac, if you are in the OKC locker room tonight, what are you drawing up on the bulletin board, and then take us in the Indiana Pacers locker room?
I would say to Oklahoma, your bench players, your role bench player has to really score and step it up. If you look at the game they won, Game 2 was won by Caruso had 20 points, and the other kid, Wiggins, had 22 or 24. They had something like 50-plus points off of the bench. Yeah. Okay? Shea's going to get his numbers. Holmgren up and down. Holmgren is going to make his shots and everything. But the two great players is Williams and Shea. If they get 50, 60 points, Pacers in trouble. All right? But if they get 30, 40 points off of their bench, it's lights out. And OKC wins really easy. It's been the bench now for the Pacers that, in my eyes, have been the key. And both teams want to run. Both teams wants to get easy baskets. OKC didn't get many easy baskets. And you look at it, the free throw was no disparity there. They both shot the same amount of free throws. I think it was 15-9 turnovers. OKC had 15 turnovers. Well, that's 30 points. Okay, let's say that half of them, they score half off of that. That's 15 points that you're giving to the Pacers. Pacers only had 9 turnovers. They had 6 or 7 the first half. So that when you break the game down, those teams mirror each other. But the fact now OKC is on the road and they're playing against a hostile crowd, but Pacers didn't have it. Pacers should not have gotten back into that game in the second quarter and won. So
take us in the Pacers locker room.
Well, if I'm the Pacers, I'm going to say let's continue to push the ball. Let's establish a game plan right from the beginning, like last game, Game 2. game 3. Let's go into Pascal and let's make them do some things. Because Halliburton, for whatever reason, man, he's a slow starter.
Yes.
For whatever reason, he was slow, and talked about it in the Knicks game when they lost, and they talked about it in game 2. And then he gets it going, and so they're gonna have to change that. But if I'm in the other locker room, I want to say, look, let's not allow them to dictate our pace. What we do well is push the ball up, and let's try to get an easy basket. They don't lose anything when they go to TJ McConnell and Mandarin. And another key, guys, I'm gonna tell you, is this kid Toppin. He has been a huge key. So the Pacers got 9-10 guys are making very serious contribution when Turner's not playing well or the other Nesbitt is in. So it's really easy to see.
Now, this is kind of like thinking out, kind of just keeping this like real out there in the open. But do you think that's the reason why New York's coach was fired, because of the way Indiana used their bench against them, and they barely used their bench?
Well, let's just start off at the beginning. His ass can't coach, first of all. Let's just call it. His ass just can't coach.
Okay.
Okay, let's just call it the way it is.
Okay.
Somebody told him, and I don't think he has a good, solid, veteran coaching staff.
Assistant.
Assistant coaches. I saw Jalen Brunson's father got up a couple times, but and the same with Rick Carlisle. Rick Carlisle, let me just go back while it's on my mind. With 40, 50 seconds to go, okay, they got the ball out of bounds. Why don't you have TJ McConnell in the ball game and be another ball handler and a great free throw shooter?
Right.
I mean, I'm screaming through the TV, and hopefully he'll hear me. Put TJ McConnell in. They got lucky. Pascal got the ball and went by his man for an easy basket. But that could have been a turnover.
Yes.
It could have been a turnover. But let's go back. Let's go back to Thibodeau. Wonderful guy. I didn't realize he was this old. He's 67, 68. He's stuck in his own ways, like a lot of those coaches in the NBA. It's a copycat league. They do what everybody else does, and they can't really decipher or make adjustments. See, as a point guard, you got to make adjustments. You can't wait. As a coach as well, you can't wait 3 and 4 and they've beat us on the pick and roll 4 straight times, and now you're gonna make an adjustment. You got to make adjustment after that second time they've taken advantage of it. And I just thought that I thought it was a tired ball club as well. They have no other than McBride, who's was not a point guard. He's more a shooter. Cameron Payne probably averaged 2 minutes a game. So I just thought they tried to get away with playing 7 players. Look how long it took him to make the adjustment to find out, oh, Mitch Roberson, boy, he's getting these hustle points and rebound. I better start him. Well, it's not a point to start and play him a little sooner, And I thought Hart stunk up the series. I thought he played horrible. Bridges played in spots. They just were not good enough. You can't win a series and try to win it with 7, 8 guys. You can't.
Yeah,
you can't.
I thought the Pacers were the better team there. Hey, we just got a few more minutes here, man.
But we talk about. You're right. You're right. They're the best team, but it's a different series if you got a 20-point lead with 4 minutes to go and you win game 1, right?
Yeah.
And one of your best players, he missed 2 free throws. Come on, man. OG missed 2 free throws. He missed 2 free throws with 20 seconds to go.
Absolutely. Hey, we just got a couple of minutes to go. I want you see so much in your career as a player, coach, front office, and just being involved in professional sports. Before the show came on, I was talking with Mike. We were talking about Antonio Brown, outstanding wideout for several years in the NFL. He is currently wanted for murder. And the thing about it, nobody's really surprised to hear him in such a predicament. What is it with some of these guys, and it's not a lot of them, most of these guys handle their business, responsible in their community, but there always seems to be a few that just go astray.
Well, I love you guys, and Ricky, I never will try to second guess you, but I think it's attempted murder. I don't think anyone shot. It's attempted murder. Yeah, he's shot in.
But as I was telling Mike, it is
erroneous
anytime
information.
your name is associated with murder is not a good thing. Attempted murder, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's gone a couple years. I don't want to say 2, 3, but I think it's been some time where he's lacked. Someone did not grab him and get him some help. I mean, first of all, when you walk off your field, take off all your jerseys and everything, you're not mentally healthy. That's a problem there, and he's been a problem. See, I believe, and you can see what's in our climate today in our country. Character will take you farther than money or prestige or level, and so if you don't have character, or if you don't have someone to support you or get some mental support, then these guys fall right back to where we came from, and that's the ghetto, and that's underserved community. But it was through our coaches, and there's a lot of guys out there that are tremendously talented. But when you take away that game, when you take away the sport, that limelight, then they fall back to that level where we all came from, And I came from the projects of Watts and early on in Texas, but I had a good foundation. But it was my coaches. My dad was an alcoholic, and did a lot of crazy things. So we fall back. So mental illness is very prevalent with athletes, but it's masked because of the sports that we play and the entertainment industry. But given the right circumstances and situation, we fall right back into that climate, and then that anger and that mentality comes out. So I think he lacks. He's in serious trouble. I think that he's going to serve some time, or what I'm more afraid of is that he's going to self-destruct, and that's the sad thing, unless somebody grab a hold to him. And I've seen it. I've been on teams with certain guys. I don't want to mention their name because it's a bad memory for me, that committed suicide, and a lot of issues. And just Ricky, you're from Detroit. You remember Terry Furlow, the great Terry Furlow. Yeah. I played ball with him, but he committed suicide going 140 miles an hour. Right after my basketball season was over in Utah, and I love the guy. But that's one example. But Antonio Brown is in serious trouble, and unless he gets some help, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty.
Does any of this and Antonio's been gone for a while, so it's not really about Antonio, but in terms of professional sports, and I know the NFL does rookie orientations, warning them about things, and I'm sure the NBA does too. But I guess at the end of the day, these are grown men that have to make decisions.
This is true. I mean, Draymond Green, as much as you love him, there's some mental unstableness there. As much as how great as Anthony Edwards is, that's a mental unstableness. And guys, I've been running basketball camp for 40 plus years, over 16,000 kids. And most of these kids have had problems. They lack a father. They lack a father support system around, and the coaches can only do much. So, John Morant, where he still wants to stay in that environment where he came from, and he doesn't have a father to give him the direction and guidance that he needs. One of my best friends is Dr. William Parham, who up until this year used to be the executive director for mental health for the NBA Players Association, and he was let go. And I'm not going to open up any privacy, but there's a lot of guys out there that needs help, and there's only very few, like Kevin Love, like DeMar DeRozan, have come out and have addressed this. Look, the NBA is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Okay, they don't want to open up a can of worms because the guys are playing ball and they don't get help. They don't get help until it's over. Lamar Odom, look at him. He's another example. Bryson Williams, who committed suicide. Okay, you remember?
Haley was supposedly killed by his brother.
Well, yeah, but nevertheless, he had problems.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of issues.
A lot of issues. But we can go on and on. So when you ask me that, it all stems from where you came from, what support system you have. Because once the game is over, man, you fall. Most of the guys fall right back. They don't have a support system, and they don't have a career to go to. So what's out there for them?
Well, Mac, I want to ask you this question before we get off.
And this could be a great topic at another time.
No. But when you mentioned Ja Morant, I mean, his father's there on the sideline, usually getting in trouble, like Halliburton's father. So is that an indictment on his father that you say that he didn't have the proper upbringing, even though his father is there?
His dad, there's a complete difference, night and day, between Halliburton's father and Ja Morant's dad.
Okay.
Ja Morant's dad has a drinking problem and still want to live his life through his father. See it all the time.
Okay.
Why is Russell Westbrook a little nutty? But I love him. He was in my camp, but he got a great parent and a great father and great mom, great support system. DeMar DeRozan had a great father. He came from Compton. Great father. Ja Morant's his father's been there, but his father wants to live his life through Ja Morant, and he got his own personal issue. You can see it's well documented in the issues that he's been into. Okay, Anthony Edwards never had a father, raised by his grandmother. He's got some issues there that is going to cost that Minnesota Timberwolves if they don't get him together. A great kid, great smile. He is not the face of the NBA. There's a lot of the face of the NBA is Steph Curry, in my opinion, in my eyes, who's a great father, does things in the community.
It's fitting that we have this conversation as we enter Father's Day weekend, and as I mentioned earlier, let's not forget it's a lot of guys that do things the right way, pillars in their community. You mentioned Steph. You look at LeBron, and there's so many others but man, it's just so disappointing.
Chris Paul,
just to see some of them brothers just fall by the wayside like that, and waste that talent from that movie, Mike, Bronx Tale, wasted talent.
Oh yeah.
But Ricky, it is not only talent; it's money. Okay, it's money. And I'm going to go deep on you guys. We as African Americans and African American ball players are not as successful off the court and when we retire as white ball players because they have a great support system there that makes sure that their money is directed. And I'm just saying it's not all players. Listen, because I'm heavily involved in the NBA Retired Players Association. We see them and they do a great job. Antonio Davis does a great job, and Dave Bing and Archie Clark and all those mentors for these guys. But it's there, but guys don't come to the table with openness and honesty, say, I need help. And all these guys, once the game is over, man, it's over. And you can't make that kind of money. And if you did, look at all those 10 ball players that got, 5-6 years ago. Now some of them are serving prison term because they tried to steal from and I'm part of that insurance thing. But if Michael's a doctor and I'm going to go to him and I'm going to say, bill the NBA millions of dollars, he going to jail, I'm going to jail. But that's what was going on. And nobody wants to talk about it. But mental health with ball players, not just basketball, after their career is really serious, fellas.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's tip-off time. We got to get out of here. Matt, we want you to stay with us throughout the playoffs, man.
I'd love to.
let's see what happens after the night. For my frat brothers, Matt Calvin, Michael Robinson, proud members of Kappa Alpha Psi, I'm Ricky Hampton. We'll see you next time. Good night, everybody. Enjoy the games and enjoy the weekend. Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Father's Day. There you go. All right. Take care.
All right, y'all.